I'll record, and if we have any latecomers, it's all recorded. So Happy New Year, everyone. I'm so happy to see your faces. I know it's been a while, and I'm excited to get back into our routine. I'm also excited to have my voice back someday. I finally started an antibiotic after a month of having this junk, so I'm just ready to feel better. Also, my kids are going on day 5 of snow day tomorrow. Yes, 5 days. We are ready for the snow to melt and the children to go to school. I feel like I should have stayed in Florida and gotten on another cruise because they've only been to school twice since after the break ended. So anyways, we were supposed to be on a 2-hour delay, and then they just called and said, oh, never mind, just don't come in. And I was like, awesome. So that's what's going on in my world. But I wanted to start off by saying a few of the takeaways from my Super Saturday and letting, I know Ashley is on here. If she wants to talk, she got to go to the one with Chris Downing, and I know she got to meet him, which is always exciting when you're meeting the trainers for the first time. And then I would love to hear any big takeaway you might have had, Leslie, or anything that you enjoyed from yours. But I went to DC Super Saturday, and we had a little retreat, and it's always really special for me because it was actually my 5th DC Super Saturday, which is hard to believe. But it was the first event that I ever went to as a new coach, and I've just made it a tradition to either go to a retreat, and then a few years ago I started leading my own or organizing it for the team, and it's always a variety of Team Courage people, and it's just always so great and unique. So when we started going to that Super Saturday, I think it was like 30 people, and now it's like hundreds of people in DC. It's always a big one. So we had Carl Deichler there, and then we had Moira Kugaba. I can't really say her name, but she ended up being the number 5 coach. And then we had David Atkins, who's also a successful elite coach. So it was nice to hear from a man as well. But one of my biggest things that I really enjoyed Carl saying, and I hope this doesn't come off negative because it was really a positive for me, is he said 2017 was the year to quit for Beachbody, that they had more people quit than ever before. They had a big dip in their business. They had a lot of changes. Not from not helping people, but just the release of All Access, I think, changed a lot of things for people because we went from selling challenge packs when people finished a program to people having access to all the programs. So there was a big change. They also saw a shift of coaches leaving and going to the new thing. Beachbody is no longer the new shiny object on the block. So you saw people leaving to sell wine. You saw people leaving to sell keto products. You see people leaving to do other nutritional programs, but still there is no company that combines nutrition, exercise, and support. Beachbody is still the only one. And I think because, for me personally, my opinion is I think other companies realize how hard that is. Like I've said to many of you guys before, if you've never heard me, it is easier to sell skincare, and it is easier to sell makeup because when you sell the product, your job is done. They've sold me what I need to do. I don't need someone checking in on me to see if I wash my face. I don't need someone checking in on me, showing me how to put my mascara on every day. What we do is different. It is harder, but it makes us unique and it makes us special. And it also makes us a company that's always, always going to be needed. People are always going to need help with healthcare and fitness and really just loving themselves. And that's what you do. So he said, be proud of where you are. If you are still here in 2018, you are truly doing it for yourself and to serve others. And he was just really proud of us. Made me feel really good because I definitely saw a dip in customers, coaches, all of that. So I just want to applaud all of you guys for being here on this call and starting the year together. So that was my biggest takeaway. There's a few other things I want to share, but I definitely want to hear from some of the people that were at Super Saturday. So Ashley, do you want to share with us? I'll unmute you and you can, I think I unmuted. Unmute. Well, let's see. Ashley.
Hello.
There we go. We can hear you, Ashley.
Okay, cool. I have a pretty weak connection where I'm at, so hopefully I don't lose you guys.
Okay.
But I'll just go quick. So yeah, so Super Sunday was awesome. Chris Downing was there, and he kicked my butt in more ways than one. When you haven't worked out in like 6 weeks because of your back, it was brutal. But my biggest takeaway from this weekend though was when he was talking, and I posted like the gut check in the group. He just kept talking about like how it's not about the excuses, it's not about like the things you tell yourself, like and it's not about even about the workouts. He's like I'm no different than you are. You guys buy into a brand or whatever. And then he just, I was kind of like, yeah, okay, cool, that's whatever, like I'm just kind of listening. And then he like did the whole gut check thing where he was like, I don't even remember it all, but basically he was just like, you don't love yourself enough. Like that's what I got out of it, was that you don't love yourself enough to feel or believe that you're worth it, that you deserve a healthy mind. And and I just kept thinking about that, like the whole drive home, and just like everything that I've done, and all the times that I've tried and failed, it was because I didn't worth of love, really, and worth.
I think she somehow muted herself. I don't know if you're still there, Ashley. You can unmute if you are. If not, we'll come back. But I heard what she was saying as far as not loving yourself, you're worth it. And if you haven't checked that, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so basically, like, I wrote a little bit about it in our team page. So if you haven't checked, like, go and see. But pretty much, like the biggest thing I got from it is that, just spending this year learning to love myself again, and so I joined like a counselor with Skype, and I'm learning all of that all over again. And like this year, my focus is going to be loving myself enough, like, and that loving myself enough by giving it water when it needs it, giving it the exercise that it needs, giving it the right food that it needs, and that's really what it's all about for me this year. That was my biggest takeaway.
That's great, girl. I love that. I'm sure he was awesome. I'm sure he was super motivating. So that's awesome. And I think that ties in with our I Am Enough theme for the team for the year. If you guys have not read the I Am Enough statement, it's pinned to the top of Team Ignite. And I actually just got the little rings that I'm going to start to send out. And then I'm going to post a little exercise, not an exercise, but kind of from the I Am Enough manifesto. I printed some out for people to fill out this past weekend at the retreat. And I'll download that for you guys as well to fill in. And it's a good, it's kind of a paragraph I am statement that you can read to yourself instead of just I am statements. But I'll download that for you guys as well, because I think it goes along perfectly with what Ashley was sharing. So Leslie, why don't you share with us what you talked about in Houston?
Okay. First of all, I just finished my spinach salad for my 3-day refresh. So if I have like spinach in my teeth, don't be saying anything, or y'all can tell me actually. And I would need help if somebody sold me mascara. So let's be clear on that. I would need a lot of help. We had a great Super Saturday. Dane and Kimberly, another lady who's a possible future coach of mine, drove to Houston, and we met Bree, and we had a great day. We ran into some other Team Courage people, Bree and Skate and some other people. So it was good to like reconnect and see everybody again. I do want to get to DC one day. I keep saying that's one of my dream things, but anyway, so we had a ton. We had our first speaker was a girl named Skylar, and she has lost almost 90 pounds in 11 months. And her story was just amazing to begin with. And she talked a lot about really it's how willing are you to sacrifice, kind of like what Ashley was saying, like love yourself enough to put yourself first and actually just follow the program. Do what you need to do. Like that's what needs to be done. Another big takeaway I had, which this was an aha moment for me, like when we're posting stuff or just sharing, actually I think this was in the Super Saturday video, the Keisha girl, when she was talking about sharing the opportunity for coaching as a part-time job instead of just inviting people. That was huge. That was something I think it's important for all of us to remember as we're talking to people, because like for me as a full-time job, and actually the girl who drove with us, she said that was huge for her because she was like, I feel like you work and are working towards full-time, but she was like, I don't want to leave my full-time job. And so that was an aha moment for me. Like that's something to really keep in mind. We had Jimmy Hayes Nelson, who was also, he started coaching about 6 months after coaching even began. And he was really good. He had a lot of things, but his big things was there's only a few things that you can take control of every day. And outside of that, you have to learn to let everything else go. And those things were, you get to control when you wake up in the morning. You get to control what goes in your head. So start your day with PD. You get to control if you push play and drink your shake or not. You get to control whether or not you get to events, and you get to control how many conversations you're having with people. And he said, outside of those 5 things, he said, there's nothing you can control. So smile and move your day forward and do those things. And then I think the most touching story to me, which the story's way too long to give detail by detail, but it was actually by Kim Carver, who's in corporate training. And I don't know if anybody on here has ever heard this story about his daughter, but she has Fragile X syndrome, which is similar to autism. And he was telling us this story, and I'm going to very summarize it, so it won't have the emotional feel that he gave because he drug it out for about 30 minutes, but I'm going to go in probably 2 minutes. But for the impact, it was important. But he was really talking about how when his daughter first went to elementary school, they saw this child, and she was, hers is not very severe. So she can be very social, but she doesn't pick up on social cues and stuff. So sometimes when she went to school, then kids would easily just make fun of her. And so what had happened is by the time she was in 2nd grade, she was the one who, like at recess, would sit on the bench by herself and sit by herself in the cafeteria, and nobody would talk to her. And so when she went to middle school, they were really worried. But she kind of fumbled her way through it and made it, even though she would come home every single day and sit on this exact same seat on the love seat in their house. And he was saying how he would have to like bribe her, like just to go to Home Depot with him. Like, hey, let's go to the Home Depot. Like, we just need to pick something up. And she'd be like, no, I don't want to go, because she didn't want to be around people, because she realized that when she was around them, people made fun of her or it was uncomfortable. And so he would have to bribe her and basically be like, I'll give you a root beer if you come to Home Depot with me, or wherever he needed to go that day. He would just make up errands just to get her out of the house. And he said, for whatever reason, they don't know why, the year that she was going to go into high school, about a month before school started, there was this girl named Sarah who lived in the neighborhood. And she had just got nominated to be the cross country head, whatever you call it, captain. And so for whatever reason, she stopped by the house and she was like, hey, I've seen Caitlin, your daughter. I would like to take her to cross country with me. I will have her by my side the whole time. I will take care of her, and then I will bring her home. And of course, him and his wife were like very emotional, and they were like, I don't know if this is a good idea. First of all, she can accept this, but at the same time, yes, let's get this kid out of the house. And of course, he was like, she's never run her life, but this will be interesting. And so he told this story about how she basically makes it through, and it's very emotional because the first cross-country meet, she was assigned a running partner in training, and the running partner was, he said, very obviously slower than her, and they had to do like these 3 laps. And the first lap, though, Caitlin stayed with her partner. The second lap, she was literally running like back and forth, so she was running twice the distance just so she could stay with her partner. And then on the 3rd lap, she was calling to the coach because the partner was having problems, and the coach was like, go, go, go. And so she was told to leave her partner, but she went on. But the whole point of this, what he was saying is, it's amazing how now Caitlin has moved on and she is on the cross country team. She has continued to do it even though Sarah has graduated and moved on. And she's come out of her shell, and she's actually been able to live what he considered way more of a normal life than sitting on the love seat every day, because he said the love seat was basically warped where she sat for years because she had no friends and nothing. And he was saying, all I encourage y'all to do as coaches is be Sarah. Reach out to that person who's sitting on their love seat and just need you to hold their hand to get them on that first step out the door to that first cross-country practice or whatever it's going to be, and be that person for them. Be the light in their life that gives them the dream and the direction, the game plan that they need to move forward. So again, I tried to go quick, 3 minutes. He put it in 30 minutes and there was way more detail. It was very emotional. But it's just empowering if you think about it. Like, that is what we do. I need that still. That is what we do as coaches. When we are scared to send that invite, though, we could be reaching that person who's sitting on that love seat, not knowing what direction to go in their life. And that's why it's so important for us to not worry about the rejection piece, or, maybe it's not right for them and that's okay. But it's only thing we can control is inviting them. So it was pretty powerful.
Yeah, I love that. And you never have enough reminders, because I know we all have those fears or those uncomfortable invites or uncomfortable moments, or if you do this long enough, you're going to have someone that kind of makes you feel like you did the wrong thing or like uncomfortable. And you have to remember that there's still all these people, though, that do need it and do need your help and do need to see that you're present. And it's not about us. And, that's a ego thing. A lot of times we think ego means, being conceited or thinking more of ourselves than we should, and that's part of it. But ego is also just making it about us, and when we make the invite about us and not the other person, that's when it becomes uncomfortable. That's when you feel like salesy or icky. That's when you become nervous about what the response would be. And Dane just said this recently in the team, and it's something that I learned early on, is I cannot be emotionally attached to the outcome. That's for challengers and coaches. Do I want them to succeed? 100%. I want all of you to succeed. I want all my challengers to succeed. I want myself to succeed. But I can't be emotionally connected to when they need to take a break, or when they take a step back, or when they even quit, because that goes back to everything everyone's been sharing. They're only quitting on themselves. There's something deeper there, So these are great takeaways. I was told that Summer, if she has her voice, she had no voice this weekend. She had kind of the junk that's just been going around with everyone, kind of like laryngitis, bronchitis stuff. So hopefully she'll be able to talk tonight. But I was told she was going to be talking about goals and an activity that we did at Super Saturday in our retreat setting. But I was going to put in here, I'm going to put in the chat the goal sheet that I printed for everyone, and it's an old one, so you might have seen it before. She is possibly, or already has, reworked it to kind of do something different, but we still kind of worked on this general thing. And for those of you that have to get off, or just to give you kind of a heads up of what she might be talking about, I wanted to go through what we did, because I thought it was a great activity for goal setting. So, and then you also have this. So before even listing out, like in the past, we've listed out, these are priorities, picking 5 priorities to focus on in your life. And then you break down the priorities into like 3 things you can do. So say if one of the priorities, for example, say one of your priorities is Beachbody, then you need 3 things you can do to work on that, and what that needs to be, or we can discuss it as a team or with your coach. And then to the right is goals. So then you come to these priorities and you're like, okay, based on what my priorities are, what are some goals that I have? And I suggested, these are broken down to 12-month. And for those of you who have read 12-week years, I suggested maybe even breaking them down into 12-week sections, because it's really easy to say, I don't want to say it's easy. It's simple to say, I want to lose 50 pounds this year, or I want to, go 5-star or 1-star or whatever, or I want to make $3,000 a month. But what would be even better is to break that down quarterly, because what you'll see happen when you make 12-month goals, especially with even challengers that you might be working with that are just starting now in January, is that you always have 11 more months, 10 more months, 9 more months, 8 more months. And all of a sudden the freaking year has gone by and you're like, oh, I still have to lose 30 pounds. What happened? So if you can break it down to like, I want to lose, 8 pounds a quarter, it's more realistic if that's a year goal. Now, if it's a quarterly goal, you can break it down even smaller. So that's some ways to think about it. But what she had us do before we dove right into this sheet that I put in the chat, like all of us wanted to like start writing our priorities, and she's like, no, like I have something new. And she learned this from Shailene, and I guess she just released it, and I was clueless. I was like, this is amazing. So I'm going to give you the we came up with 11, but 11 things that she had us rate ourselves on for you to write down and start thinking about. And again, this is not something to rush through. It's something to really think about. But you would rate yourself on these things, one being, I absolutely suck. That could even be a 0, I guess. And then 10, can't get any better. It's as good as it's going to get. And that's what we'll do. So number 1 is you're going to rate yourself on physical health. I'll just give you a minute to write it down. You don't have to rate yourself right now. We took some time with this activity and we only have, a few minutes. Number 2 is your mental well-being. Kind of like, how much do you love yourself? Self-esteem, confidence. Number 3 is your energy, overall energy level. And I kind of rated mine on both physical and mental energy, because sometimes mentally I'm like, let's go, and physically my body's not. Or sometimes physically I'm like, let's go, and my mind's like, stop. So I kind of combined them. Number 4 is your environment. So the environment that you live in, it could be the state of your house, your car, your, just what your surroundings, like, if you're living in a cluttered area, if you like it, you don't like it, how organized you feel, those sorts of things. Number 5 is your restoration. This kind of played in with energy, but I think it's the time you give yourself to restore. Like, I looked at it more as, do you take time to relax, to meditate, a hot bath, schedule massages, do yoga in between your programs, or yoga, things like that, restoration of your body. Number 6 is romance. So if you are married, your relationship, your intimacy. If you are not married, she said you can, well, not counting you, Blaine, you can have romance. But she said, if you're not married, you can, either put a 10 on it. If you want to be married, it could be kind of like just your overall happiness with your relationship level. Because that could certainly be a priority if you want to be married. Okay, number 7, friends and family. You also could separate these. You don't have to be strict on these. If you want friends to be one and family to be another, kids is going to be one. So I think friends and family just meant like your family that is your friends kind of thing, but just your relationships, friends and family. And this became a big discussion in our particular group, and we focused more around like friends that we live around. And there was a big consensus that Beachbody coaches are like friends with Beachbody coaches, so they don't have as many close friendships where they live. And it became a big topic. So I really saw how people are searching for friendships and why people love these events so much and like to get surrounded. Number 8 was kids, if you have kids. If you don't, you can skip number 8. But you could certainly include other relationships if you have nieces or nephews or anything like that. Number 9 was your purpose, like what our purpose is here, which is the $1 million question, right? But what is your purpose? And if that's something maybe you're confused on, that maybe you would rate a little lower. If you're not doing your purpose, if you feel your purpose is to serve people, but you never invite anyone, there's definitely a disconnect there. Number 10 is spiritual religion. So, however you want to view that, how religious you are or spiritual, or if you want to be more in touch with any of those things. And we added number 11, we added Beachbody because we were there for business. We are there to grow an income or to help people or whatever you joined as a coach for. I mean, you would not show up to a team call if you didn't want something out of it, even if it was just friendships, which I really heard a lot of this weekend. That's fine. But if that's what you're looking for from Beachbody, which I hear from people, like they like the relationships, they like meeting people, like they like being surrounded, you still have to put into that. Like it's something that's a two-way street. So Beachbody should definitely be on there. So like I said, you're going to rank yourself from 1 to 10 on these. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to star the, I think we starred on your sheet, there's priorities of 5. So you star the lowest ranking 5 on your sheet. And that in turn becomes what your priorities should probably be for the next year. So if you are, and it doesn't mean you ignore the other ones, but if you, like I was an 8 in romance, it's not necessary, not that he doesn't become a priority, but I seem to be doing well in that department. Like I seem to be doing okay with my relationship. But let me tell you why. Because it was on my priority list, the same exact goal sheet last year. So I became really good at the things that I needed to do when we went from priorities and then the 3 steps. I became good at date nights. I became good at quarterly trips. I became good at doing laundry more. I became good at like always having dinner ready, like things like that were important to me. And I know that shows Matthew how much I appreciate him and telling him that too. So anyways, but those are how you would determine, just because it's number 1, these can kind of just be like all equal, like all the priorities are equal if you want. Like, and for me personally, I didn't score super low on spiritual, but I still put Jesus as my number 1 priority, like spending time with my devotional and all of that in the morning. So that was my personal preference. So this is your activity. It's not a right or a wrong way to do it. And I will share this, of course, again in Team Ignite. There might be a new version that Summer puts out. She'll certainly expand on it differently tonight if that's the topic that she goes with, if she's going to talk about it. But I thought it was a great activity, and it led us to our goals that we can talk more about in the team this month as well. So okay, did everyone get everything? Friends, family? Okay, so yes, I'm going to let you guys go, and I appreciate your time. I love seeing your faces, and next call will be in a couple weeks, and I think Blaine and possibly Leslie too are going to help lead everyone through a power half hour. So I'm excited about doing that together, and even if you're not actively doing the power half hour on the call, I think it's a good idea to like work through like what Blaine might do for her power half hour, and to show you how simply you can get through your vitals. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next call if you're joining us. Bye.